Yanetrita Sheta Sen Nupeka Nubraku Nupara Nupeka Nupeka Discover Natarian philosophy through music, through video lectures, and through books by Sabai Dr. Muata Ashby. Peace be with you.
Uja, does everyone have sound, and can you see the slide?
Sabai can see the slide, and your camera just came on. That's it.
Okay, very well. We will go ahead and begin with opening prayers. Om Amurapata.
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 That's it.
That's it.
So Uja, greetings to everyone, and Dua, adorations, and thank you for attending this presentation. This is a presentation based on the new book that was just released a week ago, and it is titled, you see me looking to the left, I have two screens. The slides are over here sometimes, and then over here. The Mental Health and Ancient Egyptian Psychology, a new translation of Sage Amenemopet's wisdom text of optimal physical and spiritual transformation for self-mastery and enlightenment. It looks like there are two books, but actually it is one, which is the one on the left, and then the one that is in the center there of the slide. That is a guidebook, like a kind of a workbook that was created for those of you who may be interested in kind of systematically working through the teachings that are presented in the main book. And the idea of this book, I guess I could start with a little genesis or an origin of the idea for it. I've worked with the wisdom texts for, as you can imagine, a couple of decades, 2 or 3 decades. But it was not until like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that I started doing more original translations, more direct translations of texts. And it became very easy, much easier and easier and easier as the decades wore on. Because back in the 90s, you just had the internet starting, computers were getting better, but you really didn't have all of the programs like Adobe PDF was a big, huge jump in the capacity for having different works to be put into digital forms that were easy to work with. This is way before ebooks, years and years before ebooks came in. However, the mass of digitized material that we have today, there was nothing like that. There was really nothing like that. So what I had to do was to go literally all around the world to museums to do research, and of course Kemet to do research there too. But the libraries in Europe and United States were the ones that had the main volumes of researches I was interested in what other Egyptologists had to say and anthropologists, but I was really also interested in seeing the actual text that they were deriving their opinions about, so I can make my own opinion of what I think is if they're correct or not. And so I did a lot of that kind of work, and then I started doing more and more uh, internal research and leaving out so much of the external, by other authors or other professors and things of that nature. And so then because actually what would happen is that you'd have to go and get books out in Egyptology libraries like the Metropolitan Museum of New York or Brooklyn Museum or museums in Germany, Italy, Amsterdam, and some which I've not actually even gone to yet. I was like to do that as an exploratory research trip to go to the museums I have not gone, because they have things that were extracted from Kemet that are not available anywhere to see except there. And now I have some basic expertise with photography. I can do a lot of work and then create my own PDFs, my own translated works. And now with the AI assistance, the work is much faster. You can put in your own library of work into one of these AIs, and you tell it to analyze with these parameters, and then you can verify the parameters that you yourself put in, and it'll extract things that you're looking for much easier, much faster. Otherwise, it'd have to go make copies or just do photography and then process it, put it in the computer, and then put it into slides or put it into book form and do. But also, you have to worry about do you have the rights to get some of these things or to use some of these things? So a lot of the early work of Egyptologists from the 19th century, early 20th century, since they have passed on, that has come into the public domain, which makes it more accessible and easy to work with, not with their content, but with the text that they copied and put into their books, because that's public domain, but that's open, that's legacy for humanity. But the way that they use it or put it into the books, that might be copyrightable, but anyway, it's not anymore. So, and what happened was, as the 20th century wore on, a lot of the Egyptologists starting not doing at least interlinear translations, where they would show the text and then transliteration and then word for word, and they just started doing their opinions, and then or doing this transliteration. And transliteration doesn't really help you because it doesn't carry the visual elements. And I'll show you this in a few minutes of the text. So you can't derive wisdom from the visual elements of the hieroglyphs if you only have a transliteration. But yeah, that's how they like to do it, and they concentrate more on the phonetic, alphabetical aspects of a text. And so you can imagine that ancient Egyptian language being both partially alphabetic and partially ideographic, that you're losing 50% of the possible meaning of a text. And then if you have your own bias of a Western religion or Western language, then you're coming into a very possibly corrupt, not always, but very possibly corrupt translation that you're putting forth, or philosophical insight that you're trying to bring forth. So it became very easy, really probably in the late 2000s, 2005 to 2010, to work with these texts, and as my expertise became more facilitated, it became easier and easier and faster to do these productions. And like I say, now with the advent of the AI, it's it's exponentially faster to work with the text. So that is what brings us to the completion of this new translation of the teachings, the wisdom texts of Amenemopet that relate to human psychology. And I thought it was a very good idea. It became a theme as I started working with these new books that I've been working on the last year and a half, which I'll show you at the end. The theme is transpersonal psychology of ancient Egyptian wisdom. And it turned out to be like a new genre or a book theme that really, I actually did a little research. I found 2 other books on Amazon that have this kind of topic in ancient Egypt and psychotherapy, things of that nature. But they are nothing like, it talks about using Egyptology translations and then talking about Jungian. So it is nothing like this book. This is unique. You have the translated text, and then you have an extended commentary, the translated text with the trilinear system, and then on top of that, you have an extended commentary. So there's nothing like this that is out there for these texts. The way I work for them, and there may be something, but it might be obscure in some Egyptology. So keeping in mind, trilinear plus extended commentary. I don't think there's anything like that anywhere. Maybe interlinear with some commentary. So that's what we're talking about here. This talk today is going to be a presentation about the book, but it is also going to be a learning experience. You're not just going to get presented with the topics or contents of the book. You're going to this is going to be an insight into some of the texts that are in the book as well. So I hope you'll enjoy that. And with that, we will go ahead and begin the presentation. This is just for your information. This is an AI image, something that I directed the AI to create, based on the actual image of Amenemopet, but teaching some students in the hypostyle hall, which is what is directed in the scriptures, and what we have done when we have gone to Kemet on our trips. It's a very special pleasure for me to be able to do some talks there, even though it's, those of you who were there, you remember how strained the situation becomes when they see you teaching inside the temple. But anyway, it occurred a couple of times, so that was a unique experience as a tribute to them, to the ancients who did that. Can everyone turn off your microphones, please, so we don't have any extraneous sounds? So, introduction to Sage Amenemopet. Historical context: ancient Egyptian sage and scribe during the New Kingdom era, circa 1100 BCE, created one of the most sophisticated wisdom texts in human history. The purpose of the teaching: a comprehensive manual for mental health and spiritual transformation. Practical psychology addressing human behavior, emotions, and consciousness. Yeah, I don't want to go. Yeah. This is the beginning of the wisdom philosophy that is based on recorded wisdom literature that is to be experienced in life. This is what Amenemopet says in the prologue, verse 1. So this is the very beginning of the Amenemopet text. And we're going to see how, in a very methodical and logical organization, Amenemopet has laid out a system for understanding the mind, the components of the mind, the workings of the mind, and how to transform the mind into a state, a capacity where one can experience the depths of one's spiritual existence, as opposed to living on the surface reality of the mind and senses, the way most people do, the way we have in our past. As I explained before, and as last night anyway, I thought I'd just put a little bit into this presentation as well, because it's going to be independent. One of the unique aspects of this project is the use of the TRILINEAR translation system. As I was explaining to you before, when you have the ordinary Egyptological rendering, which is to have a transliteration, the original text, transliteration. Transliteration brings the ancient text into a phonetic context for the modern language, whichever one that is, English, French, Hindi, or whatever. And then underneath that is a word for word. So up to 1.1, 1.2, that is called interlinear translation. And as I was explaining previously, that if you only have the interlinear translation, a word for word translation, you lose a lot of meaning, because sometimes the Western or other language words may not be directly translatable, because ancient Egyptian mind, philosophy, has a different context that is associated with that word that you do not have in your language. You may try to approximate, but it won't be the same. So you're losing a lot of context. And so the 0.3 level of translation, the contextual, allows you to bring in the context. And the context is not imaginary. It is brought in by the parameters that word has been used in other texts, other ancient Egyptian texts, how that word is used. That is fair game for that context to be brought into this text if the context warrants it. And you can see how that will bring in many more words to the contextual level of translation. So you can have philosophy in there, you can have history, culture, mysticism that can be brought in to inform our understanding of this particular text by seeing how that word has been used in other ancient Egyptian texts, not just by this author, but by other authors which are part of the Shetat Neter ancient Egyptian religion philosophy teaching. That brings in the richness to the translation, helps us to have a better understanding of what we're working with in this particular text, that someone who is involved and who has been brought up, who's been initiated into the culture, into the philosophy, would have a greater capacity for. They would not need to have so much context brought in, because they would know by looking at the work, because they're already involved in it. But we who are not that involved or that immersed or that highly initiated, we need all that context to be brought in so we can have a broader understanding, and also be able to move away from our strictly alphabetical language upbringing, and we can have a complementary insight into the ideographic aspect by looking at the the images of the language as well. So Amenemopet starts with that there are some very important principles that Amenemopet has boiled down the teaching into, which if you know them, you have a good foundation for the rest of the expansion, the multiplicity that he does with the teaching. But there are some grounding principles. And this is a couple of them that we're going through right now. There are dual goals of the teaching. And these are presented in the prologue. The prologue is the pre-statement before we get into the first chapter. There's a set of hieroglyphs that are presented before, like an introduction, before we get into the first chapter of Amenemopet's work. So his work is divided into chapters, and they have different themes, different discussions and teachings, philosophy. So we're at the very beginning, we are presented with the goals of the text. And this is the first goal. There are two main goals. This is the first goal. Metru, Jeb, Hu, Sejed, and Uja Mejat. This is an exposition of precise teachings that, when understood exactly, with precision, cause a person to have spiritual well-being and vitality while living on earth. So Amenemopet is concerned not just with your spiritual well-being, as we're going to see, but also with your physical well-being, your vitality, your what is called uja, which is your spiritual life fire that causes you to have vitality and to have energy and capacity in your physical life. If you don't have that in your physical life, you're going to be very hard pressed. If you're sick, if you're weak, if you're troubled in your life, worry, anxiety, all these kinds of things, you're going to be hard pressed to be able to understand the philosophy and to grow spiritually with it. So this is the first goal that Amenemopet says that this text is designed to produce. The goal number two, the main goal number two, discover the Kata, divine sanctuary where Ab Neter resides within. The text reads Erdat, Hai, Hati Ab, Efer, Kara, Neteref. This wisdom teaching allows the heart to have presence of mind. This is Hati, presence of mind. Positive forwards movement, awareness as to the sanctuary, the Kata, divine shrine, sanctuary of divinity within. The mind, meaning the heart, the ancient Egyptian wisdom, the translation of when it says heart, it can be the physical heart or it can be mind. And we are dealing with mind. So when Amenemopet says Ab, he means heart, he means mind. Other personality is to gain the mind. Other personality is to gain presence of mind about a sanctuary that can be entered in once the worldly affairs are handled. With this wisdom philosophy taught by the sage. That divine shrine is the location of the heart divinity. that is referenced later in the text, where the divine resides in every person. It is beyond the ego personality awareness, the superficial mind. And the superficial mind is the front of mind. That is what you're consciously aware of right now. That's the surface of your mind. In the deeper depths of the mind, there is something else called the kata, or it's a sanctuary where your soul level reality exists. But you're not aware of it because you're more aware of the surface level of the mind. That is what Amenemopet is saying. But it is revealed when there is presence of mind about its existence. In other words, discovering God within themselves and thus become enlightened beings. That is the goal, the second goal. So first goal, you develop well-being and vitality in your personality so that you can have health while you're on earth. And sanity. So it's physical health, mental health, and capacity. And this will also, you can imagine, this will help you to have capacity on your job or your career, to be able to develop yourself and to discover expertise that will make you successful in life from a physical standpoint, from a practical standpoint. But that is, keep in mind that that's only the first part of the goal. It's like a foundation. The higher goal is the goal number 2, the spiritual self-discovery. That self-discovery is done by making the front of your mind, the conscious level of your mind, aware of the sanctuary of divinity that is within you. Okay, you got that? That's the key to this goal. The front of your mind, the surface of your mind, your conscious level of your mind, all the things you're thinking about, what I have to do today, what somebody told me, where I have to go, what I'm going to eat now, all this going on the surface of the mind, what my neighbor told me, what my friend, what my parents on the phone, whatever, all that's on the surface. But deep within the personality, within the mind, it's going to be told later, this in the unconscious level of the mind, there is this area where your deeper spiritual reality resides, your soul level reality. And so that is, so now if we stop here up to in this slide, you know the goal of Amenemopet, the origin of Amenemopet, where it comes from, the language, now you should have a basic foundation going forward to kind of reference yourself of where the text is, your relationship to it, where you need to go, where you're trying to achieve, what the goal is. The rest of the book, of course, is how to achieve that, how to work it out, how to make these two goals a reality. And I would say that not until you maybe another 1,000 years, 500 to 1,000 years, do you have hang on a second. Do you have any kind of text that is similar, where you have a systematic understanding and study of mind and a presentation of a spiritual and metaphysical pathway to discover the meaning of life and to what modern psychology might say, self-actualize yourself in your life, and also do what the Buddhists call enlightenment, and the Hindus call it moksha, liberation. That is what Amenemopet is talking about, and this occurs earlier than any other culture or society in human history that I'm aware of. And well, I'll leave it at that. Let's go forward here. So Amenemopet discusses the components of the psyche. The components of the psyche of Amenemopet are three mainly. These are the levels of mind that are mainly discussed there. There are other aspects of it, but these are like the foundation. You have your conscious level of mind, which we discussed a few minutes ago. The surface of your mind, which is called hat. Hat means in front, and it's related to the mind, to the ab, so the front level of the mind. What is presently in conscious attention and immediate perception. Then you have, and these hieroglyphs are taken from the text, the personality, the subconscious mind, and that is called the ka. The astral body, the feelings, the thoughts, the sum total manifestation, personality, either egoic, based on Aryu, or spiritually based on Abnetter. So you're behind the conscious level of your mind, there is a subconscious level. And that subconscious level, the thoughts and feelings arise to your awareness. Some are there, but they're not in your awareness until they come to the forefront. But those are based on your unconscious impressions that you gain over lifetimes, called Aryu. If that's the case, then you are basically operating as a reaction to your thoughts and feelings in your unconscious mind that you've gained over lifetimes. And so you're operating based on that, as well as instinctual level thoughts, desires. So you are at that level, you're still basically operating as an animal. You don't have a deeper awareness of your spiritual being. Now, and that's the Aryu. If your personality is operating based on the impelling and compelling forces from your unconscious mind that are not from the soul level, then you are operating under a construct that is called Aryu, which is based on past impressions of your thoughts, feelings, desires, memories, longings. Those become habits, and then that is what we call a personality. Oh, this person is excitable. Oh, this person is thoughtful. Oh, this person is always getting angry. That's where all those things come from. If the subconscious, the personality, were based on the soul level self-discovery, then you would have a spiritual personality that manifests coming from that. And that, of course, is the higher goal of Amenemopet's teaching, what is going to happen as well. Deeper than that, you have what is called the Ab. Ab, it means unconscious mind. Surface level stores Aryu, the karmic feeling impressions, memories. At the deeper level, as we mentioned before, is the Kara, or the sanctuary of the Abnetter, or the divine soul within. So your unconscious mind, according to Amenemopet, has two contents. One is the Aryu, your feeling memories, your unconscious impressions that those leave, Because when you have a feeling memory, an RU, it is like a residue or a remnant. You may not remember something that happened 20 years ago, the actual event, but the feeling of it remains as a residue in your unconscious. You may forget the event if someone said some harsh words to you or something like that, or insulted you. You may have forgotten even the person, who it was, and all that kind of thing. But you might meet them 20 years later, and they have forgotten who you are. They don't know who you are, but you have a negative vibe about them, a negative feeling that that person resonates with from your past. That's one way that it can manifest. That gives you an idea. So these are the levels of mind that Amenemopet, the psyche that Amenemopet is dealing with, a kind of an architecture that has been that's recognized. Sage Amenemopet's framework for understanding the functions of the levels of mind. In the mind, you have these different impressions that were left over. These are the RUs that are in the bubble circles. The illusory past, I want the good. These are purified RUs. My hopes for tomorrow, God's will. Otherwise, it would say, my past is a reality. My hopes for tomorrow are what I want. But here, these are purified. Your problems of your life are illusory challenges. They're not obstacles to my happiness. That's what a negative RU would say. So in this aspect, your unconscious is there, and there is another aspect here that I'll talk about in a minute that Sage Amenemopet talks about too. But you notice that this symbol here is representing the kara, or the sanctuary, where your abnetter, your soul, resides. And that is visible, it is open, it is available for your awareness. And this is the other aspect, the set. This is the ego. Your ego has become small. Otherwise, in a different context, I presented a slide in a different presentation where the ego can take over the whole thing and blot everything out. And so you can't see your soul level. You have no awarenesses there. But this one is purified. And this will operate through the subconscious mind, your perception, your awareness, and it will operate in your conscious mind, your conscious level of mind, the heart. So this is kind of an ideal of what the human psyche should look like when it's purified, when you're sane, when you have spiritual understanding. This other image is an image that is adapted from a previous image presentation that I presented. This to give you an idea of the difference. The ego mind, your ego set is highlighted, and your kara is blotted out. You're not aware of it. And your thoughts, your RU, your unconscious impressions, worries and anxieties, regrets. I want this, I want that. Everything's about your ego. I hate that. Yesterday's memories. You're thinking about the past and longing for the future. You're caught up in the matrix of an egoistic life. I love this, I love that, I wish, my problems. Now, on the other side, the enlightened mind that Amenemopet is talking about, the worries and anxieties are recognized as illusory. The past is illusory. I want the good. The ego has become very small. And the abnetter is shining. The abnetter is highlighted, is aware, and it is connected to Nebuchadnezzar there, as you're going to be, as the book explains. So everyone has an abnetter, a kara, a sanctuary of divine existence within themselves. And that is like a drop in the ocean. Everyone has a little drop in the ocean of their spirit. And that drop is connected to the ocean. And that ocean is called Nebuchadnezzar, the absolute, the transcendent. Therefore, if you were to discover the existence of your portion of spirit being, the Adnetter, then there's just another step, one, the hop, skip, and a jump, as I used to say, to discovering that same Adnetter is the same as the ocean of absolute existence. And furthermore, everyone has an Adnetter, and Adnetter is just the word that Amenemopet uses, and it's the same meaning in the Persian as Ba, or the soul. But he's trying to say that this is not just necessarily a Ba, it's a divine, it's a portion of divinity that everyone has. The problem that people have is that most of their life is on the left. Most people are ego mind based. They're not aware of their soul nature, and they're not aware that everyone else has a soul nature. So they see themselves as individuals fighting against other individuals, or in competition, or their life is not spirit based. Their life is animal based. Animal meaning your animal physical life existence. You're born, you die, and that's what their life is based on. The life of an enlightened person is based on the idea of eternity. They're connected to spirit, which has always existed, always will exist. So there's no question about mortality. There's no question about ignorance of life, or the limitation of life. This is the transformation that Amenemopet is beckoning us to pursue. So, the unconscious mind and are you? We talked about a little bit about the are you already, but let's go and see what this particular verse of Amenemopet says about these aspects of the personality. Are you penat im abke, such that when the karmic feeling impressions, the memories, the are you, arise from your unconscious into your conscious mind, and would otherwise overwhelm, as if capsize, the peacefulness of your mind. We defined are you previously, but let me read what I have on the slide. Definition: karmic feeling memories stored in the unconscious mind, the ab, from past actions, thoughts, and experiences. We can also add past feelings, past desires, past longings, experiences of events, the remnants of all those. The function, create density. The function of the RU is to, from a positive way, is to help you to have a practical understanding and conceptualization about life, to help you have positive understanding and a relation between your personality and the world. On the negative side, it leads to egoism and self-degradation, violence, anger, hatred, depression, etc. And that operates in two formats. Your RU, if it is based on wisdom, on understanding, on positivity, your RU can be thinned out. It can be like when you look at the sun, or you look outside at the sky, the sun is behind the clouds. If the clouds are very dark, you can't really see because the clouds are very thick. If the clouds are very thinned out, then you can see. the sun behind it, shining. And that's the same old thing what happens with your RU. If your RU is very thick and very egoistic, based on ignorance and hatred and desires and ignorance, then you're not going to be able to see the sun shining of your soul level in your unconscious. All you're going to see, looking back at you, is your desires, your feelings, and then you say, oh, this is me. This is what I believe in. This is what I think. This is what I want. This is who I am. And you're totally oblivious to the deeper aspect of yourself. So the idea is to thin out the RU by, as we're going to see, by living a life of Ma'at, the life of righteousness and truth. If you don't do that, then the RU can, as if, overwhelm, it can overthrow your personality, and basically, if you're doing wrestling or if you're doing martial arts or something, and somebody gets an upper hand and overpowers you and throws you down, that's what your RU will do to you. You will be controlled. You will be overwhelmed. Your capacity for intellectual capacity will be atrophied. Your feelings will be corrupted and base desires. So the problem of ignorance, the hat, the conscious level of mind, operates driven by RU without awareness of app. That's the negative condition. This produces heated personality, separate, incomplete, competitive, reactive. And that's going to be the next term that we're looking at, that we're going to see. This condition leads to this dual capacity of RU, positive RU, negative RU. Positive RU leads to a condition called Ger, or serenity. Negative RU leads to a condition of Shem, or heat, agitation. And you can imagine, well, we're going to discuss that in a little bit, in just a little bit. The purification path, not creating access to something absent. Rather, it is removing negative RU obstruction to reveal ab netter already present. So remember that even the most heinous criminals, or who you might consider to be a hateful or degraded person, they have ab netter, but it is obscured by the negative RU that they have gathered in their mind, in their unconscious. That's important for you to understand, so that you do not get into, oh, I hate this person is a bad person, this person is hateful, and I'll always hate them, I hope they go to hell, all this kind of thing. That is not the correct way to understand. From a Maatian perspective, a practical perspective, they're doing something wrong. That is something to be stopped or to be punished if necessary. But they themselves, as beings, are not to be condemned in the way of, because that is exacerbating your ego assessment and feelings, and you're also imposing an egoistic value to their existence as well. So it's doing harm in both ways. But really, mostly you're concerned about yourself. If you engage in that, you're going to create negative RU, and you don't want that. Personality states. Set, Shem, and Ger. You remember some slides back, we already had introduced the set. Set is the ego personality. And Amenemopet discusses that, he introduces that as well. Set is the ego identity in chapter 2, verse 10. The self-image, individuality, sense of separate self, the personality construct based on identifying with the body and mind, and the negative RU, rather than the ab netter. So your ego is a construct based on your negative RU, the RU of ignorance, RU of hatred, RU of individuality, RU of ignorance of the abnetter. It makes you act egoistically. This is what I like. This is what I want. These are my feelings, and you hurt my feelings. I hate you. You know, I love you. All these aspects are operating on the surface of mind, and they constitute the habits, the personality, you know, the way you are, or the way you do things that you like, don't like, etc., etc. That's set. And so your set can operate in two basic modes, which I acknowledged last night, also that have permutations. So you have different levels. So you go from cold to hot. Think of a thermometer. You have different temperatures in between. But these are the basic ones. This gives you a basic understanding of the basic concept of where Amenemopet is coming from. Helps you simplify the teaching, understanding of the teaching. And it helps you simplify your practice of the teaching. You don't have to know necessarily the different permutations. All you need to know, are you tending towards heat? Are you tending towards coolness, towards silence? So Shem, the heated personality, chapter 2, verse 17, RU-driven reactive consciousness, anxiety, anger, greed, fear, restlessness, mind and feelings operating from egoic perspective of separation and incompleteness. So when you are acting out of egoism, Shem, you are feeling yourself to be as an individual, and you're incomplete, so you have to get things to make yourself complete. You have to have a relationship. You have to get property, get a house. You have to get gold. You have to get children. You have to get money so you can travel. So you're trying to make yourself happy and make yourself complete. And none of those things will ever work, but you keep on trying anyway. And what are you incomplete from? You're incomplete from the knowledge of the self, the soul within you. If you have that, then you are complete, and that is called good. That is called serenity, silence. Chapter 4, verse 7. If you have that completeness within yourself, you have awareness and capacity in your physical, your mental reality, and your relationship in the world, the physical world. And you also have the understanding of your true nature and the fullness that is the existence of who you are essentially. So that completeness will allow you to exist in the world and not be troubled by your mind and the anxieties, or that you have to get something to be happy, because you're already full and complete. That's Amenemopet. Now, Amenemopet also talks about Ma'at, the ethical foundation. That now we're starting on the road to understand where we are, how we're going to get to where we need to get to. Teachings of Amenemopet, chapter 7b, hieroglyphic text, how Ma'at works. What is Ma'at? Ma'at, number one thing that in this context, in the mystical and the mysteries, Egyptian mystery context, is Ma'at. Mostly we think of Ma'at as righteousness and order and balance. All those things are true. The center meaning of Ma'at is truth, however. What is true? And of course, there are different levels of truth. There's a truth in arithmetic. Then there's another truth in algebra, another truth in calculus and physics, et cetera, et cetera. So you work with the truth that you have, and when you need to grow, you leave the lower truth and you access the higher truth. The ultimate truth is the truth of spirit being. but you work with the different levels of truth in time and space, in your day-to-day life, and the different levels of your inner awareness leading to the absolute level of your spiritual self-discovery. But it has to start with righteous action, righteous living, because righteous living will produce positive RU, it will produce balance. Whereas anmat means unrighteousness, that will produce negative RU of agitation, RU of duality, likes and dislikes, hatred, individuality, me against them, those kinds of feelings. That's why mat is important. So the Matian action enters, when you do Matian action, it enters your unconscious level of mind, and it purifies the RU that is there, and also replacing the negative RU. It reshapes your unconscious mind and creates clarity in your mind so that you can discern the existence of the spirit being level of yourself, the Abneter and Nebuger. Iu ka ra am enger a mau shu. Now, as concerns the astral body, the ka, the subconscious mind, that level of mind that harbors the thoughts and feelings subconsciously that manifest through the mouth, meaning through your organs of action in the world. The mouth is connected to your conscious, and conscious is connected to the subconscious, etc., etc. At the conscious level of the boat of life, the boat of life is your personality that you're using to have a journey through your life. The journey of those who have led a silent life, who do not live by egoistic desires, boisterousness in the temple, or unethical behaviors in their boat. So in the boat of those who live by ethical life, in their boat, they are able to sail on fair winds that are pleasant and right for sailing and right for reaching the destination of life, to reach the hand of God and the acceptance and be accepted by God. To those who are unethical, their boat of life will end up in a shipwreck. They will end up in suffering. They will end up in conditions that will take them away from self-discovery. And since they are acting in unrighteous ways, then their divinity cannot accept them. Their divinity will be obfuscated from their awareness. And that's a pretty miserable state. And that's why Ma'at is extremely important as a foundation for life. And the manifestations of that. So being truthful, being honest, being forthright, and being balanced in your dealings, not stealing, not being greedy, etc., etc. Not being boisterous, yelling and carrying on, and all that being self-centered, selfish, etc., etc. Disrespect. Divine consciousness, Abneter and Nebuger. We've discussed this generally, but here a little bit more specifics on Abneter and Nebuger. Abneter is the drop. Nebuger is the ocean of spirit. Abneter is the divine soul, the heart divinity, your individual portion of divine consciousness that sustains your very capacity for conscious awareness. So because Abneter is there, you're able to have cognition. You're able to have thoughts. You're able to have awareness. If Abneter was not there, you would not be able to have that. You're not. Your body would cease to to be alive. Your mind would cease operations, etc., etc. Abneter resides in the Kara, or the divine sanctuary, within the depths of the unconscious mind. It is always present, and purification of mind reveals what Aryu obscures. And we've discussed the process of purifying mind through Ma'at and through righteous living. And also Amenemopet stresses the importance of understanding philosophy, understanding this philosophy, which the book goes into extensively. All-encompassing divinity, that's Nebuchadnezzar, the Lord of utmost limits, the absolute, universal consciousness that created all and is in all and actually manifests as all. There's nothing other than Nebuchadnezzar. There is no sky, there is no you nor me, no car, no dog, no grass. Everything is, all these are individual names for something that's actually composed of the same stuff. The thoughts of your mind are composed of Nebuchadnezzar. Your very soul is Nebuchadnezzar. Your skin, the vibrations of your voice, everything is Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar is all-encompassing divinity. The whole universe, all the stars, all the planets, is all composed of Nebuchadnezzar. That's what it means, utmost limits. Divinity encompassing utmost limits. Your mind is what allows you, your Aryu is what allows you to think that you are an individual within the all-encompassing existence. And so your mind has the function of helping you to parse infinity and eternity, or eternity and infinity, and allows you to perceive time and space. Trying to make sure that I got that correctly. Eternity is time and infinity is space. How the individual mind perceives it. But the reality of it in itself is eternity and infinity. So the mind with this Aryu helps you to be able to parse and to be able to see yourself as an individual. But that all that is not true is just a perception. Just like when you have a dream, you can perceive yourself to be an individual in a dream, but that's just a perception, a temporary perception, which is illusory. So that's the purpose, allowing the drops of spirit being operating in everyone to be able to see time and space and work within the objects of time and space. But if you come to believe that those objects are realities in themselves and they're not manifestations of Nebuchadnezzar, then you're in big trouble. You're an individual, you're operating with negative Aryu in a delusion. And your life is going to be miserable because you'll never be complete and you always be searching. Maybe if I buy this house, I'll be happy. Maybe if I get this car, maybe if I have this relationship with this person, I'll be happy. And you'll never be happy. You'll never be serene. You'll always be restless and you'll always be troubled and always be distracted. So simplifying the spiritual path that Amenemopet discusses, Ma'atian actions, your foundation, Aryu thinning that occurs, and that allows you to perceive Abneter. You practice also, along with these disciplines, you practice meditation, which Amenemopet talks about, and the Abneter is revealed. So I'm trying to bring things into a simplified form of what Amenemopet is presenting. All this is explained extensively, but we're bringing it down to its foundation elements. The ultimate destination, the self-discovery. The journey of enlightenment goes from spiritual ignorance of Abneter, the discovery of Abneter, and the realization of Nebuchadnezzar. So you're discovering your soul nature. At this level of self-discovery, you are discovering that you are not just a mortal human being, you are a spirit. But you're still, at this level, you're still individuated. You still also understand yourself to be an individual personality. So you're at this level, you would be a realizing that you are a human being having a spiritual experience and moving towards discovering that you are a spirit being having a human experience. And then you totally discover that you are spirit and that your physical human experience is similar to a dream at night. It is a temporary relative reality manifestation, a spectacle. And you are no longer in what Amenemopet calls a stupor. If you think that you are only an individual, only a human animal, and that you don't have a soul when you are born, then you die, and that's it, that's a stupor. That's a delusion, as Amenemopet would classify it. You discover the realization of Nebuchadnezzar, that's enlightened being. An enlightened person is going to be free from the delusions of life and the pressures of their own mind. I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to go here, I have to go there, I have to deal with this, I don't have to deal with that, I hate this, I don't, dealing with all that stuff, and you can be serene, you can be relaxed, you can rest as if on the ocean of eternity of your deeper self. A person who doesn't have that capacity, they're always jumping. From the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep, they're jumping. And they have misery in their life. Constant, or almost constant, with intermittent bouts of happy situations that don't last very long, that people confuse with the meaning of life. You must realize that anything that you do in the relative reality, since it's illusory, it in itself is not. It is like, for instance, you think it's so important for you to build a big business and to become rich, or to have a family and to have your children go to college and to see them grow up and all this kind of thing. All this is illusory, and in and of itself, it doesn't mean anything. What is meaningful is the spirit self-discovery that allows you to appreciate the manifestation of divinity in terms of your children, your family members, the grass growing, the tree, the sun, the sky, the stars, and to marvel in the existence of spirit being. Just like if you have a dream at night, you wake up, you can marvel at all the spectacle of what's going on, and think, how grand it is that your mind came up with all this dream world that you. So think about how the divine God, the goddess, has come up with this fantastic idea that we call universe and the existence, and also the inner workings of the physiology of the human body and the mind, who came up with this construct. But most people take all this for granted, and they think all this is just, it's just there. So just live with it, work with it, and not marvel at the deeper reality of it. So life passes them by. Now we come to the understanding of, I don't have the other two, well, we have the current book, that, actually there's one more book that is not on the list, but I'll tell you which one that is. So we have the Amenemopet book. So basically, as I was starting to write the first book, which actually is the first book in the series is the one on the left that I started writing. And as I got into it, I was realizing that what I was really doing is tracing a transpersonal psychology philosophy of ancient Egypt. I've always talked about psychospirituality for decades, but now, to concentrate on in this context of transpersonal psychology, concentrate on the Kemetic teaching, the Shatav Netter teaching. And so as I was writing this book, the ancient Egyptian transpersonal psychology of mind and body, mind, and enlightenment through the mysteries of Ra and Sekhmet. That's the current title. I started, the seeds for these other books were there, and I started in the back of my mind thinking about, as I finished this one in August, I started thinking about these other ones. So I started working on the one in the center is one of them. The one awakening, your soul aware witness that we talked about last night. That's one of them. This one, the timelines to enlightenment, science of accelerated spiritual non-dual development through ethics, mysticism, and meditation. This one can be thought of as a sister book to the awakening. It's like a foundational reference book to the series. Talking about the one left first, the mysteries of Ra and Sekhmet. This is a book of a scripture based on the writings in the tomb of Seti I that are detailing how the personality falls from its spiritual awareness into spiritual delusion, and the practices that can allow it to rise up to the state of enlightenment in a wrapper of mythic wisdom related to the relationship between the god Ra and the goddess Peteru, who becomes incarnated and forgets herself, and she is helped to regain her self-knowledge. And that's just a fantastic teaching that hopefully will become available in the spring or early summer. Sibajas is working with that. And the timelines book is, like I was saying before, a kind of reference guide that goes along with the awakening. This one talks about, this one was birthed as a chapter in the Mysteries of Ra and Sekhmet, talking, well, actually, no, actually, it's not from that one, from the Amenemopet book, talking about what it requires, how much time, what kind of meditation practice, what kind of dedication is required to have a fruition of the spiritual teaching in one's lifetime. That is what this book, and it also has, so it's dealing with the presentations of ancient Egyptian wisdom, and also bringing insights from present day, 20th century, 21st century researches on the practice of meditation, and also case histories of people who are regarded as having become enlightened in their lifetime. So that's what that book is about. And another upcoming book is based on a presentation that was done, a scripture. It wasn't really a scripture, it was a compilation of scriptures related to the 6 main gods and goddesses of the Kemetic New Year, who happen to be the Neteru, the cosmic forces that preside over the different aspects of the human personality. So this book current title is Ancient Egyptian Gods and Goddesses of the Human Personality. These are all Kemetic transpersonal psychology series, Wisdom for Mental Health, Self-Discovery, and Personal Power. And so this is based on a presentation that was done for the 2022, I believe, Comedic New Year presentation. And so the translation of the text related to each of the gods and goddesses has been done for, at this point, a few years. But some of the students did transcription of the lectures. So it was decided to convert that into a commentary section, just like these other books. And so that's what's going to take a little time to do. So hopefully, maybe by the summer, this one will be worked on as well. So the hieroglyphic text has already been translated, the TRILINEAR. So now it's the commentary, the extended commentary that needs to be edited and reformatted and for a print book. So that gives you a little idea of what's coming there. And in the meantime, also I'm working on a follow-up to the Kemetic Diet, and hopefully that might be out by February. We'll see. And so these are the current works in progress. And the idea of the Ancient Egyptian Psychology book series to have a really well-rounded understanding of human psychology that I think relates very well to definitely to modern day transpersonal psychology, of which Jungian psychology is part. It correlates extremely well. So those of you who have studied psychology, I think will enjoy the insights of Amenemopet, and also maybe even help you to be able to have some of these insights working in your practices as well. That's it. Okay. So are there any other questions or comments at this time based on the presentation? Hopefully that gave you a good foundation into what Amenemopet has created. And I don't think that the other wisdom texts, there are some other wisdom texts. Wisdom text is a genre of ancient Egyptian writing where sages worked on spiritual teachings, but also practical teachings, secular and non-secular teachings for right human behavior based on the wisdom of Maat. And so there are Sage Amenemopet, Sage Tautep, Sage Kagemna, but I think that Amenemopet is the one who has perhaps done the most extensive instruction on aspects of human psychology, and that's why I chose to concentrate on that in his works. Any questions or comments from anyone?
Uja,
Puja?
do I say mama? Do I say baja? Greetings all. Sarmaat here. Sabai Sarmaati. So first my comment, and I probably have dozens of questions that I would love after completing the full reading of the book. I'd love to follow up on.
You may turn on your camera if you like as well.
Nee. Uja.
Uja?
So the work is absolutely Nefer Sabai. I'm
Oh,
about
by the way, do you have the book already? Have you received it?
so it said it was supposed to
Or
arrive.
okay, but I think you have to see the PDF though.
I was blessed with the reviewing the PDF. I'm about halfway through with the soul aware witness text, and so some of the things you reference in here, that book, kind of gives some reference to, and so some of the concepts that you're mentioning, are familiar from reading that text. And so, what you lay out here, you did mention in terms of your research, that you hadn't found only a couple of other texts that approach this depth of dealing with mental health from the ancient Egyptian perspective. And I certainly have not seen it in my 25 years of working in this profession. And so the way in which you've sort of put this together, it's just absolutely Nefer. There's a level of just contentment that comes with the presentation that is just, it's wonderful in terms of seeing how useful this is in helping people with what you said, the stages of the physical well-being and the well-being from the first goal of Amenemopet to the deeper Kara awareness or knowing. And so what I greatly appreciate is the new language that you're presenting here, that Amenemopet puts forward. It really gives some concrete understanding of the science and of the technology, having these terms. The slide where you simplified the 4 steps, starting with the Maatian ethics, all the way up to the Ab Netter awareness. I think it's like 2 slides from the end. Several of them are just profound. This one. So just this kind of simplification or structuring, really makes sense. Like I just can't tell you. So for many years, I've sought to piecemeal components of the work that you've offered us. But this level of just detail and organization in the language, it's quite profound. So I guess I wanted to ask, and I kind of glean it from reading, again, the Soul Aware Witness book. So in this, I'm wanting to understand if you're saying that like the soul awareness witness level seems like it's like the work that one does for, steps 1 and 2, developing Maatian actions, thinning the REU, and then sort of to go beyond that level, one further engages the 3 and 4, the deeper depths that meditation can take one to. I don't know if I'm explaining my question.
Yeah, the main teaching that was focused on from the awakening your soul aware witness, that is presented in the Purdom Hurdu as an attainment of a person who has practiced thought and who has thinned out the RU sufficiently to be able to be aware of their deeper witnessing capacity. That deeper witnessing capacity further evolves, further develops, further expands into awareness of self as the Ab Netter. So it begins kind of superficially, intermittently, And then through that is step 3, the meditation, the more pointed meditation practice that allows that aware self to expand, and then to be able to see oneself fully as something separate from one's mind and thoughts and feelings and history and one's physical nature. So it's a kind of a gradual process, but it begins with the righteousness, the are you thinning, and the pressure of are you reducing, so that you can have clarity, and so it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. But at a certain level, you start realizing, hey, I'm separate from my thoughts, I'm separate from my feelings, I'm separate from my body, I'm a separate entity. But then you come back to it, and you come back to your regular awareness and as a human and interacting, and you kind of forget yourself, and then you remember, and then you reset yourself back, and then eventually it is to become a more of a perennial awareness, or a stable attainment, and that is achieved more through the deeper practice, the meditation. And Amenemopet talks about a kind of open awareness meditation, awareness in Nebuchadnezzar, but he also talks about spending time in the unconscious mind. And didn't go into details on that one. That's extensively discussed in the book. So spending time in your unconscious, discovering your deeper self, your Amenemopet self. So anyway, hopefully that answered the question.
Neat, Dua. And just the slide where you also described the 3 levels of consciousness. Again, you kind of touch on those in the Awakening book. Well, you not just touch, but you talk about the slide where there's this 3 levels of consciousness and these 3 components of personality. So,
This one.
So this right here, just my comment is like it has such tremendous utility for the psychological process. And again, like for many years, I've kind of tried to piecemeal talking about these things based upon your writings and the way in which you've mentioned them. But this, really takes it to another level in describing the unconscious piece, the surface level and the deep level, like the parsing of those two. It really helps to understand how that unconscious works, and how, as you're cleansing the Ari, that material comes to the conscious awareness, and then it removes and replaces. In the front of mind awareness, it sort of removes the ego, or purifies the ego. Just absolutely never. So can you say any more about this surface level versus the deep level, the kara, and how that's, I guess, just kind of conceptualized.
So the conscious, if I was trying to think of, because it's the term, the hieroglyph is taken from one of several verses where the hat is discussed. This symbol here is the hat. It is the front, and when it's paired with the term ab, it means front of mind. So the conscious awareness. So when I've used the term conscious awareness previously, and this is a kind of a focused way of using that term. Usually, when I say that, it means that consciousness is operating as awareness in the personality. So conscious awareness, and when that conscious awareness is strictly confined to the surface level, to what is going on now, what I'm aware of now, what I'm thinking about now, or what I'm perceiving now, or what I'm sensing now with my body, that is to be considered a surface level mental experience or mental activity. And in relation to that, there's the deeper level, which is the ab, but the intermediate level is the ka, and the ka is the level or aspect of the mind. So all of this can be considered mind altogether. The ha, the ka, and the ab. They could be thought of as one unit, but we're parsing them into different aspects or functions. And so the middle between the surface and the depth is the ka, the personality and the subconscious level of the mind. So the problem, as I mentioned in the lecture, is that most people are, if at all, they might be aware of actually most people are not even aware of that. They're aware of their conscious reality, and they become aware of a sprouting thought or feeling in their subconscious just when it comes into the conscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then they react to that, or they react with it. So they're essentially controlled. Their conscious level is controlled by whatever the RU is that is emerging in their subconscious mind. For a person who is becoming spiritually sensitive, they are not operating just at the conscious level. They are more aware of feelings and emotions and thoughts as they're sprouting, as they're coming into. So then a person like that, if they see anger emerging in their mind, they would be saying, "Huh, I see this little spark of anger here. Let's see what this is all about." Whereas a person who is caught in the conscious level, by the time they become aware of their anger, it is already flaring, and it is overwhelming. That's how Amenemopet it capsizes the boat of life, and then you are controlled by it. And then later you might say, "Oh, I wish I hadn't done that," or later you might say, "Oh, it's a temporary insanity," things like that. So this practice is helping to become more sensitive, and also not to have negative, strongly negative, um, reactive RU that would cause trouble for the personality. So in such a way that a person who is becoming so purified, they would not have to worry about brush fires coming out of and overwhelming them. Because in fact, they would be more eventually overwhelmed by spiritual feelings and camaraderie and sharing and universal love and things of that nature, coming from the unconscious level of the spirit soul level, which really is all of those things. It's not that God is producing those things. God is those things. It is the occlusion of the personality that causes one to look at things narrowly. This is mine. This is yours. And I love and I hate. The divine is all those things. So it has no compulsions, no problems. So that's the deeper aspect of Amenemopet's teaching is relating to all of that. Hopefully that answers your question more. But going into the different verses and the interconnectedness of his teaching, all of that emerges and more. It's really quite fantastic, and I agree with you. This is, remember earlier in the year, last year, I was saying to you guys that this is like this is a paradigm shift. That is, and the first, and that's not even with the Hara and Heteru scripture that you've not seen yet. That is like on the same level. It's and but the thing I do agree with you, and I'm glad that you perceived it that way, is that it gives us a capacity to have this really mapped out and organized and well documented, explained, and not too complicated that it's like too over the top. It's very accessible.
It's accessible and practical. Like you can see, I mean, as I've again, I haven't seen this one, but just Elements of the Soul, the Awakening book, just seeing elements of how human personality functions and reading it, in the way the text describe it. It's fantastic. It's marvelous. It's just, I can't imagine, as you're uncovering, it's just I just can't. It's never. So very,
Right,
very excited to move forward.
Right. The thing is that because you've experienced many of the conferences, and I have, I guess this term is academic orgasm, what Dr. Peter Rogers calls it. But the thing with these works now is that they're comprehensive, and they have because some of the scriptures have specific topics that they hit really good and really wonderfully, but this is like very comprehensive, very a very full framework to work with. Like if we put all those together, it amounts to this kind of thing. So
the cross-referencing, the different texts, and I think you discussed that yesterday. You talked about some of the direct texts from which you drew the material, and in the book you sort of demonstrate some of the ways in which the texts say similar concepts, and so it's a very comprehensive, and the whole series it really provides quite a breadth to work with. So just dua sabai.
Dua to the divinities that channeled it. And Amenemopet and all the other priests and priestesses who had a hand.
Dua to the ancestors. Yep.
Anyone else have any comments or thoughts? Or those of you, I heard that some of you have received the book already. I didn't think it was so fast. If you have any comments or thoughts that you'd like to share on it.
Sabai, there's some things in the chat. People are typing as well. That's it. Do you want me to read what's in the chat?
If you could, I would appreciate that. And also at the end, you can give your impressions.
Much dua. From Shemzahit Nebahed, she said, I think she was just agreeing with Sarma'at, and truly profound work. And then Shems Ya Jehuti Kefra wrote Uja Sabai, these Kemetic transpersonal texts and the components of the psyche and the personality will make it easier to navigate our spiritual growth and how to target areas of frustration as they arise in our day-to-day practice. In this case, key scriptures can be referenced to target areas for our growth.
I think it's similar to Sarmat's assessment. I think especially these works that are coming out last year and this year, you're going to find that they're very useful, accessible, and very workable for your own personal spiritual evolution. And if you're doing any counseling work, I think it'll be also very useful.
And it looks like Absetna had written, Uja Sabai, the soul awareness book is unputdownable. You overdid yourself.
Okay, Dua.
And if I may share, I just wanted to say much dua to you and Sebaja for bringing these Nefer teachings to us. But also, I also wanted to share something. What is it? The proverb, the lips of the wise are as the doors of a cabinet. No sooner are they open, but treasures are poured out for you. And these are such gems that it is a treasure that you just can't, is unputdownable. You just can't stop reading them. But not only reading them, but applying them in your lifetime, I think is most important. Something you mentioned today one of those gems was talking about Ma'at. And the center meaning of Ma'at is what is true. But the ultimate truth is the truth of spirit being. And I just, again, another gem that you share throughout the books, that there's so many of them. And I haven't received the mental health book as yet. I received the guidebook, but I did download the ebook. And so I take turns. I'll read the Awakening book in the morning, and I'll try the mental health book in the evening. But I also was very grateful to have the opportunity to do a little bit of proofreading on those. Hetep.
Dua. Hetep. Dua for your words, your kind words, and again, dua to the ancestors and to the Adneter and Neberger. Shem Zahid Nemehet says something. Uja Sabai, do you foresee applying this work in clinical trials? And that's an interesting idea. I was thinking about that some months ago. I was telling Sarmat that from applying this in a therapeutic kind of context setting, that maybe some of you who are psychologists who may want to have maybe separate talks or separate meetings for discussions on that topic, and maybe it can be the subject of a future work. Thinking about this as not necessarily psychotherapy, but as in a counseling therapeutic context. So that's something perhaps we can discuss in the near future.
Peace and blessings. Can I be heard?
Nee, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, brother. I was invited on by a sister who studies Kemet. In fact, she came to my house and we did some Kemet yoga. I've heard so very, very much about it. This is Brother Forrest calling out of Newark, New Jersey. And I've heard so much about Kemet. I know very little, but listening to you today, my dear brother, I would like to step on that road and journey and learn more. And also, I have a network with 24 different shows open Monday through Sunday. I'm not going to mention it out of respect that you don't do that when you go on other people's networking, unless the permission is given. But the bottom line is I like to ask you two things, brother. Number one, the book, does that come in CD form? And the reason why I ask is because I'm working with my vision. All right, I've been a vegan now for 13 years, and I'm getting a little more clarity with the herbs and my diet. And secondly, do you have one on nutrition? Does everything come in the book, or can we get that on CD, my brother? Thank you.
Dua for your kind words. We have moved on from CDs. We haven't produced any CDs like for 20 years, I think so. Everything is digital now. And as far as the other topic, we have one book that was written in, the final version was 2002, which is Kemetic Diet. And I'm currently working on a follow-up with all the researches that have been done in the last 25 years that adjust what was said in that particular title. So that's coming as well. But as far as your first question, no more CDs, really, no more.
Somebody else had another question about if we had for like reading impaired or anything like that. If we had any books translated.
Maybe like a large fonts or something.
Also, can you share how you do it with
the just a minute.
The iPad that I have, like how you can listen to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you get the ebook, you can use it on a tablet, on the computer, on the iPad. All those are.
And they'll read it out loud.
And they can read it also.
Right.
Those systems, they can read it out loud as well. So that makes it a little more accessible, I think. especially if anyone is visually impaired, things of that nature. Nee, go ahead. Whoever was speaking.
Sabai, it's Sarma Nee. I was just going to emphasize that if you purchase the Kindle version of the books, they can be read out loud, as Sebajai was referencing. And so, as an alternative to a CD, if you have an electronic or digital reader, it can be read out loud in audio.
Well, in the spirit of what the brother was talking about, consciousness, and brother, one more time, could I get the correct pronunciation of your first name, of your attribute, your name?
Muata Ashby, is that what you mean?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Muata, am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, Muata.
Okay, Muata, okay. Yeah, well, just thinking about what the sister said, and thank you for the Kindle version. Sometimes it's just a matter of, and I understand you guys have to do what you do on your end, putting out information. Also, I would assume, are you on Facebook, brother, or is there some other way that you can be accessed where you can actually listen and YouTube or anything like that, so I can get a little step up. So next time I come to one of your meetings, at least I'll be have a little a foot in the door with some of what Kemet is all about and what it represents.
As far as Facebook, no, I will not be on. I personally will not be, but others in our group are. Which is
And we have a Facebook page, but we don't do.
There is a Facebook page, but
we don't do live.
Nothing. Right. Like this particular presentation will be on YouTube, our YouTube channel, and there was one that was done last night, and there are other, dozens and dozens of free things on there. Also, we have Kemet TV, KemetTelevision.com, and that has hundreds of lectures and talks and presentations. And Basubaka, if you can put the in the chat, I thought if you had already done it, I guess. And you can go to EgyptianMysteries.org for more information about courses that are ongoing and presentations and programs and things. So KemetTelevision.com, EgyptianMysteries.org are good sources. And
and thank you for that, because the sister who invited me, she'll keep me up to speed with that. And just to let you know, going forward, I may be reaching out to you if it's okay, going forward. Not right away. Just want, like I said, get to know certain things, and it's good when you show an interest in something as valuable as Kemet, because it's resonating with my spirit. But up here in Newark, New Jersey, once a year I do a big health forum. And last year we were blessed to have Dr. Layla Africa's wife, Dr. Stevenson, came in, along with Thurston Bilal, who worked with Dr. Sabi. So that's why I was asking about the nutrition. But I'm definitely going to be looking in that direction, because I'm always looking at ways to keep my temple correct. So I just wanted to say that, brother. But I will be studying and looking in different places. And I don't know how many brother Farshas you know, but this is one brother Farsh that will stay in contact with you brothers and sisters on this, and I want to thank you for this time.
Okay, Dua, thank you.
And who said that's invited you?
I don't know if she has an attribute, but it was Sister Catherine Petty invited me.
Okay.
Out of Roselle, New Jersey.
Okay.
He means Shem Bell. Shem's Bell.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So
he knows me by my given Shem's Bell.
Okay, so we have a way. So through her, we can get all the, and she pretty much knows most of these things that we're sharing with you. She's a good contact for you, or a good resource to help you as well.
She always consistently keeps me informed, and it was a blessing meeting her at Professor James Small's seminar one time. So thank you.
Nee, and Shem's Bell, I think this might have been the person you texted me about recently. Maybe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was asking Sibama about it today, and I was gonna, I wanted it to come out here, so it did come out here. So yeah, do share.
All right. So I think somebody else is typing there, but in the meantime, you were going to say anything? Because I have something to say about you. I want to make if some of you who have the book already
Uja, Sebaja here.
may.
Just sharing. Just wanted to say that. Well.
Maybe you should say it after I say something.
Well, I was just going to say Sage Amenemopet is it's a fan favorite.
All right.
Has always been, and Sibama did the series previously. That is there, and although the book is as it is, I still also would encourage you to go to the live lectures. At some point, we may have live lectures for this to supplement what is expressed in the book as well too. So I would encourage you to go to the live lectures on thekemetv.com. So Sibama did a series, and then I went over and I did with a group we did a review of Sibama series where we played Sibama series, and then I added on top of that, but specifically also what I did for that review is that some of the aspirants had transcribed this is before we had the automatic AI transcription, things moving so fast. We had some aspirants transcribe the Sage Amenemopet. The thing is, as Bas Baquet always likes to say, with the transcriptions, I mean, it makes life easy for, us to have the information, but goodness, like, it's a whole aspect of aspirants missing the opportunity to really get the teachings really inculcated by doing the transcription. So in that way, the videos can offer maybe a little bit more, get an insight into the teachings with Sibama, speak in it. The more of the senses you use to learn something. Studies have been done in this, like hearing something, seeing something, talking about something. All of that helps to get it deeper into the cat, the ka. So, and the into the unconscious and the creating the positive RU.
Just say the job for true. For true. When doing the transcription, it really does inculcate, as you had said, much Dua.
So AI learns too from it. Because it learns on itself and it builds, so it makes it future easier. So
neat, just like we do. AI as well as ourselves, if we're doing that, you learn as well.
It's its own consciousness too. It's consciousness too. So anyway, but just to share that, I would advocate the Sage Amenemopet. So what I was sharing is that for the ones I did, I had the transcription. So I actually would copy like word for word verbatim what Sibama, because when he's doing the actual reading or speaking or talking about the scripture, a lot of things just fly by, which is why I think you all are appreciating the book so much, because you get to go almost word for word as has been previously shared. And when you listen, it's a lot is being said and it just, goes by. So when I did the review, I was able to use the transcribed copies and quote Sibama a lot and put those quotes on slides. And then we paused to we would listen to what Sibama said, and then we would actually pause to review what was said by having the words there.
And that's on Kemet TV, right?
That's in Kemet TV. And then, I would share additionally, and others would offer insights as we went through it that way. So those are other ways to supplement and to expand on the text also, which is very precious. And I don't think did you use the transcriptions previously for this?
Partially.
Partially.
But it
right?
wasn't completely done back in 2019. So it's only part.
Yeah. So Azerbaijan has kind of hopes like to bring forth those scripted transcription lectures and somehow maybe integrate them with
Those are integrated in this. Actually.
All of it?
Yeah, all of those.
All those lectures were
in 2019. There was an earlier.
No,
that was
the ones
not,
that were transcribed.
Yeah, that was incorporated here.
Okay. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share, that those resources are available. And for those who did the level 2 Basu Definitive Recertification 2, you would recognize the first part of the book, which talked about the kara and the Avnatur and the kara. Sibima actually had done I think the first 2 lectures that we presented.
The prologue.
The first 2 or 3, Sibima actually presented that prologue for those presentations in the very beginning. I would like to have those lectures be made because I'm not sure if they're on Kemet TV since they were part of level 2. I have to look at that.
No.
And put them with the Kemet TV as well too. Cluster. That's up.
Yes, I wanted to say a couple of words here. I'm looking at the PDF of the book. You can see the extensive nature of it. This is the book is divided into 2 parts, 3 parts. The first part is the TRILINEAR translation of the Amenemopet text. And I presented today maybe about 5 verses or something, 5 or 6 verses maybe. And so this is all that is in the book. And then part 2 is the extended commentaries. Let's speed up through this section. The whole book is about 600 pages. And this part here talks specifically about discovering the aware witness on the journey towards discovering Avneter and Nebuchadnezzar. And there's a verse that talks about the Henu pose, and this I have not talked about before in this capacity. The Henu pose is a movement, a physical, a somatic movement from a standing position to a kneeling position as a form of adoration.
Jubilation.
It's called jubilation. This is an adoration to a divinity, and there'd be a lot to go into, but this is this just to suffice to say that it incorporates a kind of physical, somatic aspect of the spiritual practice. So this is not just all mental or all, philosophical. So let's just make a point there. And I didn't mention this one. I'd like to leave this very next to last statement that Amenemopet talks about how a person who is practicing serenity should detach from those people who are practicing Shem or heated life. And he also explains that one should not feel bad about that because God will take care of them. God will look after them. A lot of people think that they have to be compassionate and to be good, and to take care of those, even those who are bad people, and being compassionate No, he says no. That's not being compassionate. He doesn't say it, but it's actually being foolish, because you're contaminating yourself with another person's unrighteousness and their psycho illness, their psycho. Well, you get where I'm getting at. That you're going to try to be helping a person and contaminating yourself with their heated behavior and feelings and desires. It's illusory. So that's one important point, that he has a compassionate heart in that context, and that of course helps to develop your positive RU. This little diagram of the framework of Amenemopet about the mind. I'll let you get the book to look at that. At the end of the commentary, there are some special essays. So that's why I say it's like a part 3. And these are like overarching themes that are indicated by the overall scripture. And then there is something, if some of you may not, I have not informed you of this. I did this after kind of some of you who did the reading of. There are some there are a couple of extant versions. Extant meaning that they're surviving, that they're available versions of the Amenemopet teaching. Some of them are not complete. Some of them are pieces, ostraca, things like that nature. And some of you have experienced the prayer of Amenemopet, which is in chapter 7. And this, I decided to put this one in because it's a more extended version of the prayer. And perhaps, as I'm saying it, maybe we should, because it'd be a nice part of the closing for here. Then we should take a look at it more closely, quickly. Hang on a second.
Can you make it a little bigger on screen?
Yeah, I was trying to find my place that I'd lost my place there now. Here. Ari, tu, que sema, a enpa, aden, netter, iuf uben netter, jed ama, na, uja, mejat senab, meja, df enke, keru mejat, tuke, enpa ank mejat, iuke, uja mejat, tu heri. Now hear this, the action of yours, causing adoration to the sun disk, divinity. It is an adoration to a shining divinity, resplendent and effulgent, with vital life force and enlightenment for the mind. Utter the following words, O divinity of the sun. That's in this particular scripture, he calls it Aden. It's also Aten or Aton. It's the same. Who enlivens and enlightens all. It says grant. It says grant to me not riches or possessions or my ignorant ego desires that are all fleeting and illusory. Instead, grant to me well-being and health in a manner of your choosing. So the idea is of making adoration for well-being and enlightenment, as opposed to a lot of people pray, oh, let me get rich, let me win the lottery, or let my stupid neighbor, get evicted, or you're going to foreclosure, things like that. So Amenemopet says, no, don't ask for those kinds of things. Ask for well-being and enlightenment, and that'll give you all that you need. He will give to the divine will give to you whatever provisions are needed for your life while you are on earth. It is you who will have well-being and vitality for living your life.
It's the same teaching from the Temple of Set, Nebet. The last part there.
Okay. So I wanted to say a final word here. I'm looking at the PDF of the book, as you see, and Sebajad did not have, due to the publishing schedule that I have. She did not have a chance to look at the full book, but she did have a chance to look at some of it, and you read through the scriptures and the first part of the commentary, the first chapter maybe. And she had some pointed comments that she had, and I thought carefully of it, and there was some important insights into how the perspective of the book was being presented, which I thought was very apt, and I had missed it. So anyway, I decided to put a little acknowledgement, a little appreciation there that you can read, because I think her contribution, even though she didn't get through the whole thing, was crucial to the full perspective. And I think some of you who read who helped with the proofreading, you may not. This was not in her perspective, was not incorporated into the book. So, which I think is kind of important. So here is a little acknowledgement of her, and here for that.
Well, Sebajad would just like to say that she actually appreciates hearing that from the perspective.
Yeah, it was
from the perspective of realizing I wasn't get through all of it, but I felt like the thematic aspects that I commented on, or that once you kind of got what I was sort of trying to bring forth or nudge out of you, that you'd be able to follow it throughout, I guess, in that way. If there was anything further that needed to be, in that same alignment. But that's kind of, I was like, well begun is half done. So at least if there. And it's, I think it's just like, Sibama and I, that we kind of, have different perspectives sometimes and things like that. So I think it's just gives different expansions of the mind, and much due it to I appreciate that Sibama also this time around had assistance with the edit in itself, the grammar and all of that, and I think Basbaket and Sarmat specifically may have helped with some of the books, and that's appreciated, because it wasn't something I was able to do this time around fully in that way. So much due for those contributions as well. Because sometimes what back in the day when Sivaja would do a lot of editing for Sivama.
I'm not going to respond to this, so you can say whatever you want.
So sometimes she would have a lot to say, I guess. So, but these books I was telling Sivama in the because, as you said, his editing process and his production process of wanting to get these out, the timeline didn't really work with my process. And I hope to do justice with the Ra and Heteru one, the next one. So I guess I appreciated what he shared, because I actually hadn't heard anything about the feedback that I offered, and I didn't even have a time to really discuss it with him or get his thoughts about it. So I wasn't sure if it helped or not. So
Shemji Kepra says something. So your explanation of the levels of psyche suggests that specific hekau may be designed to go deep into the unconscious and purify the kara. Are there specific chants that are fine-tuned for that, like the GLM, hekau, for instance, or perhaps newer scriptures that you have uncovered recently, or is it necessary to repeat hekau such as the daily chants or Shatav Netter innumerable times, so that it generates psychic energies to purify and break down, then remove those deeper unconscious impressions? I think it's first of all, in the Awakening book, another chapter of the Purdah Heru was revealed that, and this is also, I think, in the Ra and Heteru, that has not come out yet, that talks about the circular, a term called, I'm translating as circular invocation, which is kind of a recurring statement, a chant. And one of the chants that are discussed, of course, is the glorious slide, the GLM, Nuk Heka, Nuk Bahra, Nuk Heka, but also is discussed using the divine name, and specifically the divine name that is mentioned is Ra, but any divine name will work, that Aset or one of the goddesses or whichever one, it's fine. And any scripture that you want to use. A hekau is words of power. Hesi is more of a chant. Shemai is more like singing. But keeping in mind that when you're doing singing is more like a devotional, more like a worship. But when you're doing more like a chant, that is it can be related to your preference in the scripture with something that is that there are some outline chants or some outline statements that can be used. But what I'm getting at is that if you see something in the teaching that is very appealing to you, and the Amenemopet scripture, you can repeat that.
The circular, what do you call it? The circular
invocation.
That concept would include repeating it with feeling and meaning?
I mean, it's the same. Yeah,
Right.
It's the same.
So then that would, that relates to, I guess, what resonates with you, even, let's say, sometimes at a specific time, or
right, and that can change.
It can change.
Like something that's resonating this year, you may be graduating to a different one, something like that. That's possible too.
And the main hekau that one has, if one understands the main hekau that one has, that one has already chosen and been working with as like one's foundational hekau, then one does not have to switch to something else.
Right, because it's making grooves of RU and
Right.
it's setting up, it's reformatting your mind.
And all the hekau are basically to allow you to connect with, remember, attune to, experience, lead you to through the stages, the experience your own deeper essence. So in that way, you still have your main one, and then other ones are inspirational, and they can be done in addition to your main one. And sometimes aspirants may change their main one because maybe they something at a different level of their spiritual evolution has more meaning. So then that's okay. But you don't want to, just kind of just be going from one to the other, because you could do that, but it'd be really advanced personality that they all like to understand that they all are doing the same thing. So that way they're working in the same groove, I guess.
The analogy of the digging the well.
Right. But for most aspirants starting out, you kind of need to focus on, you have your main one related maybe to your tutelary divinity, and then you have other ones that come along throughout the teachings, because otherwise you'd be constantly switching. That happens like every time you do a different myth, and then we have the hekau related.
Yeah, a lot of people run into that.
Everyone like, what do I do? Do I switch? Do I not switch?
Well, there's another point that should be remembered also, that the chant practice is not meant to be perpetual, meaning it is meant to be perennial. You have the same one, it could last for years or your lifetime, but it's not meant to be perpetual, so you're chanting it all the time. Or like, for instance, you're doing your spiritual practice, you're doing your meditation, say, and then you start with a few minutes of chant to settle the mind and to reframe the energies of the personality. But at some point, you can let the chant go and go into a silence, and this is discussed in the Hira and Heteru scripture, where after the GLM section, one goes into kind of inner transcendent experience, and your chant stops at that point, because otherwise your mind will continue operating. So it has its use, it has its purpose. As you said, it can develop a purity, develop, like I was saying, to reframe the energies, reconfigure the energies of the mind, and to some degree reconfigure the brain, physically as well. So, but it's not meant to be a perpetual.
So
in that context.
Well, just to give clarity, like clarification, when you say it's not meant to be perpetual, are you kind of referred to sometimes there are other spiritual organizations that the repetition of a chant, like a mantra, is their main focus, like in the devotional, and so they're doing that all the time. Are you kind of referencing that when you say that, like, as opposed to, because you're not talking about like, especially I think at different stages for aspirants, you need you will utilize it differently. So an aspirant,
well, if the mind is very agitated, then you need to spend more time with it.
Spend more time with it. So
but if you're more internalized, then you don't need to spend so much time with it.
Right. So, but when you say like, don't do it all the time, just there might be stages or times when that is more prominent in your practice. So it's not like Sibama saying like, oh, don't do it. If you're doing it, if you're used to doing it when you're agitated, or if when you're frustrated, or go to a higher tool of thinking of the teachings and don't use that. Like, these are all phases and stages of spiritual aspiration and evolution, and so you have to kind of know your process in there. And if the mind is going to be agitation or it's the hekau. And the hekau is like it's a mantra, it's a prayer, it's an attunement, it's like, you know, remembrance of the spiritual path, of who you are, of the spiritual journey, of the process.
It's also supposed to be communion. Because
at a higher level, right, the communion. But I guess I'm speaking about if you're doing it for agitation and you're working through that before you get to the communion, it's still going to. And I think the other thing I was going to share is like the Sa'ankh, the divine grace, is time and attention. So it's even though these are words of power, right? You can have many people going to Kemet, and people can learn words of power, learn how to say these things, but it gives some kind of energetic and cleansing and understanding and connection to the divine. So I'm not saying it doesn't do anything. If you just like know it's spiritual and it has spiritual meaning, that alone does something. But in terms of like the mystical path, we're talking about time and attention. So if you put in time and attention to a specific hekau, and then somehow something else comes along and you read about it and you said, you know, or someone says, hey, this is like really, you know, a really good one here. And so you decide to do that one and just like repeat it, rote, but you don't have a connection to, like Mom said, you're not doing the time or attention. You're just doing it because you understand it's supposed to be, you know, somebody said it was more powerful. That won't really help you with the Sa'ankh, which is the protective divine energy that, you know, gives you insight and intuition into your own deeper spiritual essence. So the attention has to be there with the hekau and the time, the devotion. That's what we call the devotion. This
is a follow-up here. So if hekau that we have repeated appear spontaneously in our mind and play in our dreams or repeat when we are breathing, is it the type of experiences we are looking for to indicate that the hekau are reaching the ab and the kata level? And the answer generally, I will say yes. So when that starts to happen, when the hekau starts repeating by itself without your conscious volition, it is reached a level where it is deeply reframing or reformatting the subconscious mind, subconscious level of mind.
Rewiring.
And right, and doing purification work and some deeper levels of mind and so on. So it eventually leads to that purity that reveals the Amenemopet. Thank you for these clarifications. This question is being asked to apply in conjunction with the wisdom from the frustration on the spiritual path discussion from Sipaja. All right, so we will go ahead and conclude there then. To everyone for attending.
I was just going to share that since he made that comment that this fits into this discussion that we're talking about with the questions you asked about the hekau repetition. That fits into what, you know, I talk about disciplinarily nuking correctly, you know, nuke I am, nuking correctly, applying the I am to the Amenemopet essence. You know, that would be it in this context here, the soul awareness context. And in the Assyrian resurrection, then it's Asar. So, but this still is all in that context of nuking correctly the disciplinary aspect of Sound Nevature, having awareness of Nevature, the disciplinary aspect of remembering, going back to remember your deeper essence. All of that is incorporated. So that's our.
You may turn your audios and cameras if you'd like to join in with concluding prayers.
It might be posted on YouTube though, so if they don't want the pictures.
This will be posted on YouTube, so if anyone would rather not have their image come on the screen, that's fine too. Om Amudapta. Om Amudapta. Om Amudapta. Om Amudapta. Petebdi Sinatiri Mitwach. Petebdi Sinatiri Mitwach. Om Heter. Heter.
Do a sebacha.